Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at a new Mewtwo card. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. In the Detective Pikachu set, we are getting a new Mewtwo. Yes, we did just look at Mewtwo-GX yesterday from the same set. Well, actually, the Mewtwo-GX is a promo. This Mewtwo is in the set proper. Number 12 out of 18. And ladies and gentlemen, this is an alright Mewtwo. Starting off with the basics, it's got 130 HP, which means it is just out of range of something like Zoroark, which is very nice. The retreat cost of 2, we're frankly not a fan. The weakness to Psychic, it's alright at the moment. We got some Malamar decks running around. And to be fair, you will be one hit KO'd by Naganadel, and there are still a few of those decks. One did win in Collinville, but never mind. Other than that, you're doing alright. And you're a psychic Pokemon, so you can use stuff like Spell Tag to get some cheeky damage down when you're KO'd. Enemies are hitting weakness on stuff like Buzzwole and, of course, Buzzwole. So it's not too bad. But what does it do? No translation needed, ladies and gentlemen. We have had these cards revealed in English. The first attack, 1 Psychic, 1 Colorless Energy, 30 damage. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. That Pokemon can't use that attack during your opponent's next turn. This is nice. It should be called Amnesia, because we've seen this attack like a million times before. It's supposed to be called Amnesia. I don't know why it's not called Amnesia, but it's not, which is kind of sad. Anyway, I digress, ladies and gentlemen. Now, in terms of the energy cost, it's not a huge problem, to be honest with you. You can use counter energy if you're behind on prizes, which will pay it in one go. You can use counter gain if you're behind on prizes, so it just becomes a single psychic energy. If you're in the expanded format, you can use Dimension Valley, which will bring it down to a single psychic energy. And of course, if you're not behind on prizes and you're in standard, you can use Malamar. Malamar accelerates from the discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon, so you can just whack the energy on Mewtwo and then be like, yay, life is good, etc. So the energy cost isn't a problem here. And frankly, this depends on 2 factors, how good this attack is. Factor the first, does your opponent's active Pokemon have more than 1 good attack? Factor the second, do they have good ways of switching? So if we take that Blacephalon thing, which I just mentioned, won Collinsville Regional recently, the last big tournament in the US, over 1,000 players, and if we have a look at Blacephalon, they've basically got 1 attack. Mind blown. Put any amount of fire energy attached to your Pokemon in the Lost Zone, do 50 damage for each energy put into the Lost Zone. Now, they've got Bursting Burn, Automatic Burn, and Confusion, which is annoying, but it's not going to get a KO anytime soon. And they've got Burst GX, which lets you discard one of your prize cards and attach it to one of your Pokemon, but that's not really going to get a KO anytime soon. I mean, it'll take a prize, weirdly, but it won't get a KO. So if you end up using this and stopping them using Mind Blown, that's going to be an issue. They can still use their GX attack, and a lot of the time Blacephalon decks don't really have a second GX attack. So alright, that can do for a turn. And sure, I suppose, you still do have that first attack, which is kind of annoying, but you're stopping your opponent using their big attack. So in that regard, it would be really good. Want an even better example? Zoroark. You see, Zoroark literally has got 1 attack and the GX attack. But a GX attack is for 2 Darkness Energy. Most Zoroark decks are only playing double colorless, so they're not playing Darkness Energy, so they can't use Trickster GX, so they can only use Riotous Beating, and if you turn off Riotous Beating, in their face, they can't attack. We can also look at Pikachu and Zekrom here. Now, they have a nuts good GX attack, but they can only really use a GX attack when they've got 6 energy on and they haven't previously used it. So there's going to be a very small window in the game where that GX attack is a really viable option. Outside of that, they've just got full blitz. 150 damage, accelerate free energy from the deck. Yes, that is a really good attack. But it's not something you can just casually whip out every game. Which means you can take advantage of the fact that your opponent is likely going to be playing full blitz, and you'll usually, in a lot of games, you'll know when they're able to use a GX attack. And then you stop them. And then you laugh in a very nice way. We're all friends here. But the point is, you can just basically shut them down. Now, there are plenty of Pokemon for which this isn't really going to work so well. But in the format we've got at the moment, you got stuff like Zapdos. Literally has one attack. Lycanroc GX literally has one attack plus the GX attack. Ultra Necrozma literally has one attack plus the GX attack. See where I'm going with this? If you look at the top decks from Collinsville Regional, and seriously, it was the last big regional, it's the best place to look for what's good right now, the vast, vast majority of attackers have one attack. Maybe a GX attack, maybe a rubbish second attack, but most of them just have one good attack. Here's a big problem for this attack. There are a lot of Guzma around at the moment. There's a lot of Ace Roll around at the moment. And there's a lot of switching cards around at the moment. And as soon as your opponent gets out the active, even if that exact same Pokemon goes back to the active, then the effect is reset. And you're off. And that's kind of annoying, if I'm honest with you. And that will happen a lot. The other huge issue for this, of course, is Jirachi is a thing. And the problem with Jirachi is it's got a great ability and a rubbish attack. Not a problem for them, but it's a problem for you. Because here's the thing. You end up with Jirachi in the active, you use the ability, it puts itself to sleep, so you want to retreat it with an escape board. So if you're playing Jirachi, and a lot of decks are, you are basically trying to get in the active, get out the active, get in the active, get out the active pretty much every turn. Which means something like this, you just get in the active, get out the active, and oh look, you've used Jirachi's ability, and oh, was there a Mewtwo attack? Yeah, I don't care. I don't care that the Mewtwo was attacking me, because I've gotten around it. That is arguably slightly worrying. Great attack. Really good against a lot of Pokemon. The switching options might be a problem. Second attack here, 2 Psychic, 1 Colorless Energy, 130 damage, discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. If we didn't have Malamar, I would be saying that this attack is basically hot garbage. For the love of all that is good and holy, don't play this card. But we do have Malamar. So you got 2 Malamar out, accelerate 2 energy on, attach 1 for your turn, attack, discard 2 energy, get to the bench, get 2 more energy on, and just keep rolling. And 130 is a good amount of damage. We got a whole bunch of stuff like White Kyurem that has 130 HP. You won't get every non-GX Pokemon, but you'll get a bunch. Anything that's weakness, you're hitting 260. That's a lot, incidentally. It's not out here yet, but in the not too distant future, we're going to be getting Machamp and Marshadow Tag Team GX. Yeah. Beefy, right? That is the only thing that's going to survive this. When I say survive, I mean if you don't have a Choice Band and you don't have a Shrine of Punishment, it will survive with 10 HP remaining. Obviously, you will. So if you're hitting for weakness, great. Against non-GXs, largely very good. Against other GXs, it's a bit more awkward. Choice Band, Shrine of Punishment, you're up to 170, there's Tapu Lele, but even something like a Blacephalon is going to survive with 10 HP remaining. And that's a bit of a pain. Maybe you use Spell Tag, so that when your Pokemon get KO'd, you get to drop 4 damage counters, and that makes up the difference. Don't forget that Malamar decks are often playing Giratina, and when you put it on the bench from the discard pile using the ability, you drop 1 damage counter on each of 2 bench Pokemon, and that can make up the difference. So using stuff like Spell Tag, Shrine of Punishment, and Giratina, along with Choice Band, you can now get into a little bit of fun time with Mewtwo. This can work. It's a decent attack. I mean, your other big option is Giratina, that also does 130 damage, is also a basic, and also does it for Psychic, Colorless. But Giratina has to put 4 damage counters on one of your Pokemon, which you might not want to do. And actually, in a Malamar deck, there is a huge advantage to discarding energy with Mewtwo when you attack. Because if you don't get KO'd, you might want to attack with something like an Ultra Necrozma, in which case you really want the energy in the discard so that you can accelerate it to Necrozma. And the problem is, if you just retreat Mewtwo, then you might be in trouble because you need to accelerate to Ultra Necrozma before you put it in the active. And if you retreat Mewtwo to Ultra Necrozma, you then can't accelerate with Mewtwo. I'm not saying it's better than Giratina for the second attack, but I am saying it is a viable alternative. And I am saying that the first attack can help you against a lot of Pokemon. Just please be aware of how many switching options we've got at the moment, and do please be aware that there is a decent chance it will never actually end up working. Boo, hiss, etc. But ladies and gentlemen, let's give it 3 Wassies. It's a kind of Pokemon that should be sitting in your binder. Nah, let's give it between 3 and 4. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. I upgraded it at the last minute, in line with the Mewtwo-GX. I do think it is a viable non-GX attacker. I would still probably play Giratina because the ability is nuts good, but there is absolutely a place for Mewtwo in Malamar decks. So there we go. But whether you agree with me or disagree, I would very much like to hear from you, and oh look, there's a comment section. So please go nuts and please be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about other games. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.